It feels like Secret of the Mimic was just announced, but here we are. Enough time has passed since its release, the dust has settled, and now it's time to talk about it. This video will be a review of the many good and some mediocre aspects of Secret of the Mimic. How a lot of people seem to enjoy this game, and how I tried to enjoy it and kinda failed. So what does this game do well? Let's see. Secret of the Mimic is a story that predates all other FNAF games and is set in the 70s. Such game requires a very specific aesthetic, and the game is good at capturing it. When you are exploring, you can feel what ears you are in, be it the mascots, the materials from which the building is constructed, the old tech, or the caricature characters on posters and tapes. The game is also pretty good at balancing between light-hearted light environments with dark creepy environments, while also not giving you a flashlight. Speaking of creepy, this game does a great job of making you paranoid. When you are taking your first steps inside the building, you will be seeing a lot of empty mascot costumes here and there, and at first you might take them as just a part of the environment, until you first encounter the Mimic, and it turns out he can be inside any of them, and you can never predict which one will he use. The fact that most rooms in this game are pretty tight only adds more tension, because you will have to walk near these costumes very often. What? Okay, it's random. At first the ambience will also play against you. There are a lot of sounds that have nothing to do with the Mimic, but they can put you on edge anyway. Overall, the game does a good job at giving you a feeling that you are being watched. What the fuck? The game is also not afraid to show you rotting dead bodies of previous technicians who were sent to this place, and who were stuffed inside random costumes across the building. The gameplay consists of walking around, hiding, exploring the environment and solving puzzles. The formula is carried over from previous Steel Wolves games, but this time it's more refined. Pulling levers, searching for numbers, building rows for mysterious lava liquid, shooting targets. Basically, it's like Ruin, but with sprinkles of Help Wanted 2 mini-games in it. Considering the amount of objects we interact with in this game, I must praise a little bit the animations. Throughout the entire game we will be using Data Diver, which is like a grandpa of fuzz range. And we will need to use it constantly. No matter where you go, every door and every PC will require the Data Diver, and it's almost always the same animation. It could have got boring really quickly, but the animation is satisfying to use, so it never became an issue, at least for me. Without spoiling, the story in this game is probably the most straightforward story of any FNAF game before, and you won't have much of a problem following it if you will collect mails from mailboxes and listen to audio logs, most of which are placed in pretty easy to spot places. Collectibles this time are connected to the secret ending, and while this was kinda the case for one of the endings in Security Breach, this time it's more than just have a certain amount. For the secret ending, you will need to complete the Moon.exe minigame on the Security PC, and all collectibles you find are gonna be transferred into this game as items that you will need to progress in it. As for the name of this game, Moon.exe, story explanation aside, this is because some Security Breach cast sees a return in this game, just in a different setting. Moon, Sun, Roxy, Monty, DJ all make their appearances in one way or another. The only new faces that I can think of are Jackie, Dolly, and I guess we can count Tiger Rock in here, who some people call Golden Freddy of Steel Wolves era. I maybe don't agree with it, but I see where it is coming from. Jackie and Dolly have their own small segments, and together with DJ they act as mini-boss battles, or rather mini-boss chases. So you wouldn't get bored from facing the Mimic for the entire game, although it's still the Mimic, he just wears them as costumes. By the way, will you be surprised that Jackie, who was the main face of every promotional material, got treatment almost like Vanny in Security Breach and appears in this game for like 5 minutes. We never see Jackie actually die, so it might be that Steel Wool are saving her for a DLC. Before we will talk about the bad stuff, I want to just briefly, without spoilers, mention the story, because I can't actually decide if the story that this game tells us should be put into positives or into negatives. Yes, it is a straightforward story, but it had a mixed reception. and it's hard for me to talk about it without any bias. Some people think that the story has ruined the overall story. Other people think that it actually fixed the overall story. Some think that the story shouldn't have happened so early in the timeline. Or some people, like me, just liked the story of the Mimic that was written in the novel The Mimic, which this game took as a base and rewrote a lot of stuff from it. My personal gripe with it is that I really loved how the novel was showing us the dynamic between David and the Mimic, and how much Edwin was struggling to hold everything together, and how absolutely devastated he was after David's death. And the game just destroyed both David and Edwin for me as characters. But this was just my opinion. Now let's talk about negatives. Yes, they actually exist. First, I must say that the launch of this game was pretty smooth. Complaints about performance issues seem to be rare, but there were some bugs close to the end of the game that could soft-lock you. It sounds nasty, and in the previous Steel Wars games it wouldn't be that big of a deal. You would just load a previous save file like in Security Breach or restart the chapter in Ruin, and avoid the bug until it gets fixed. But here comes the problem. Secret of the Mimic doesn't have proper save files. The game autosaves your progress and that's it. You don't have manual saves, you don't have chapters or levels, you have only one autosave, and having only one autosave can turn the softlock bugs in the late game into a very big deal. Because I've seen quite a few people who had to replay the entire game only because they were softlocked close to the end. Talking about smaller bugs, the only bug I encountered was with sound having a strange transition between some locations or parts of the map. The most noticeable one was in the vents when I was running from Dolly. The sound sometimes plays bullshit. But bugs and optimization are fixable, so it's a critique that will go away with time. And there already was a patch, so some of this was probably fixed. In fact, Steelwool were trying so hard to optimize their game that they replaced view behind the windows with simple pictures, or in some cases just made no view at all. Looks pretty silly, but maybe that's because the layout of rooms was not really coherent. To some other problems, the AI of the Mimic is kinda mediocre. Yes, he is very fast if he spots you, so you can't outrun him, but sometimes he just loses the sight of you for no particular reason, and sometimes it becomes comical.
Well, I mean, some kind of yellow. I think it's behind you.
No. He's just sliding. Don't mind me.
Is he stuck?
Fuck. No, he's not. Never mind. Also, the immersion breaks a little bit when you realize that the costumes around the building serve as Mimic's spawn points, and it's not him changing them or ambushing you. This mechanic is also easy to abuse. The Mimic can't follow you through doors, and when you leave the area he despawns. So when you enter the area again, he will spawn in a different costume. If you are not happy that Mimic spawned in an inconvenient spot, you can just leave the location, wait a little bit, and then re-enter, so he would spawn in a different spot. As an addition here, I should say that jump scares in this game are... I guess they are fine in a vacuum, but if we will compare them to jump scares in Ruin, it looks like a downgrade. In Ruin the jump scares are actually horrifying, and you can see how Cassie struggles against the inevitable. Meanwhile, in Secret of the Mimic, it looks like Arnold is just being headbutted most of the time. The last critique that must be said is that some puzzles can overstay their welcome. On their own, these puzzles are fine, but there were a few instances where you need to do the same thing over and over again. For example, in the room with Big Top the power goes out 3 times, and you have to crawl around the mannequins and fix it 3 times, while also being limited in time. Another good example is collecting 5 cassettes that are scattered across a big 2-floor house, and bringing them all to the projector. Since Arnold can carry only one item at a time, it can become tedious very quickly. I think you see what I'm getting at. With all that said, the game is still great, and it was interesting to see how Steelwool refined their formula and features that they had in previous games. Like, getting inside the Springlock suit is clearly a mechanic of getting inside Glamrock Freddy. And I'm ready to bet that the way we control the van is probably based on the controls from the go-kart minigame that has been cut from Security Breach. So, if this review is a positive review, then why couldn't I enjoy this game like everyone else? To put it simply, Secret of the Mimic is a great game that wasn't made for me. This is just a problem of my preferences. I have hard time enjoying this setting, environment and visuals, which is why for me all other FNAF games from Steelwool look more interesting and fun. The Pizzaplex for me was much more inspirational and memorable. Meanwhile, I can barely remember any specific room from the MCM factory. I'm still of an opinion that it's a good game, and it's very clear Steelwool has upped their skills, and I'm excited to see what they are doing next. After all, we know from the interview with Scott that Steelwool had some other game cooking already, even back when Secret of the Mimic was just announced. Be it Security Breach 2, Ruin 2, or whatever the name they will come up with for the next project. And I will be eagerly awaiting for it to come out. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, watch another one if you want to. Good luck, and I'll see you again soon.